All right, welcome back. We are into a Friday here on the Sheldon McLeod Show. Welcome to an excuse not to mow your lawn. Yeah, absolutely. You need an excuse? Well, urban beekeeper John Bignell has some advice for you. John, how you been?
Good afternoon, Sheldon.
How are your bees?
Fantastic. They're doing great. They had a great winter. Despite the weather, it's always, you never know what you're going to get come springtime when you open up the hive for the first time. It's kind of like a Christmas for beekeepers.
Well, you've been on the program before talking about your passion for bees and urban gardening, and if I'm not mistaken, you did take a bit of a trip across Europe tasting honey, did you not?
Yeah, no, totally. We had two big trips that we took with the family. One to Hawaii, where we got to taste some really unique Hawaiian honey, and then this summer we went to France, where we got to try some French honey. It was such an amazing experience, and anyone that travels, they should take an opportunity to go to a market, find local beekeepers, and taste the honey, because each region, each kind of beehive has its own flavor, and it's what makes honey, I think, so unique. And Halifax has a unique opportunity to kind of sell itself on its honey and what its honey can produce and what honey it can taste from local beekeepers. And when you look at big cities like New York and LA and even Toronto, they market their honey as being this unique tasting honey, and you pay a premium for New York honey.
John, I didn't see this note until after I'd done some work in the yard last week, and I don't know whether a little head down on the South Shore, but why are you telling people not to mow their lawn this spring?
Well, it's not don't mow it for, you get to mow it over the summertime, but the springtime is such a key, critical moment. The next 2 weeks is that opportunity for all the flowers to start blooming, and the crocuses come up, and then the dandelions come up, and those are the two critical flowers that the bees need to have. And over the next couple of days, everyone's going to want to get out and mow and tend their yard, but this is the opportunity for the bees to get out and start collecting all the pollen, collecting all the nectar that the dandelions have. And it's such a critical moment because it's a transition from going from their winter stock and then the extra food we give them as beekeepers to the moment they're getting fresh flowers, and it could be kind of their first meal. So this weekend and the next couple of days are really, really critical for bees.
Dandelion honey, though? What's that taste like?
Dandelion honey. I've never had specific dandelion honey. I hear it does have a unique flavor. I've yet to find a true dandelion. There's so many. It's hard to get a true dandelion honey because honey. There's so many different plants at this time of year when you look at the crocuses and dandelion that to really isolate that one flavor would be quite challenging. I'd love to try it, and if anyone has had an opportunity to try it, I'd love to get my hands on some, but I've yet to see it out there.
We've got on the line with us here this afternoon urban beekeeper John Bignell, and perhaps this weekend I noticed quite a few dandelions have sprouted, so it is the season. And I know in the city that there's we can't use pesticides to control them, so that might be actually a good thing for the bees. Yay?
Yeah, no, totally. It's a real balancing act to manage these dandelions. Whenever you tell someone don't mow their dandelions, that opposition definitely stands up and they say, well, I have to provide pesticides, I have to treat it. My neighbors will get so upset. And I think it's a balancing act of saying, you know what, we have 2 weeks where we'll leave the dandelions, and just before they go to seed, then we can cut them. And that prevents the spread, prevents them from going into your neighbor's yard and kind of making a mess. But if we leave them just for that couple of days that the bees can get out there, get a good meal, kind of get the hive activated. In the next little bit, the trees will start blooming, and they'll move from the dandelions into the trees. And we can see that transition in the actual sacs that the bees carry. When they travel back to the hive, you'll see different colors, and you'll see the transition from the different trees that are blossoming from the dandelions. And it's a really kind of unique opportunity to watch bees when they come in, because there's so many things that are going to happen over the next couple of days. Well,
I was interested to continue this conversation with someone who we've invited on the program in the past to talk about butterflies, but what about the bees? Nikki Jabbour, our weekend gardener, is also on the line with us. John, say hi to Nikki.
Hello, Nikki.
Hey, John, how you doing? Hey, Sheldon.
Great.
Excellent.
This
is a great discussion. I've been really enjoying this, and I'm getting lots of great tips, John.
Thank you.
So much. I don't need many excuses not to mow the lawn, but I guess if it's going to help the bees, Nikki, is there another way, perhaps? Is there something else that you encourage people to plant in order to help feed the bees?
Well, I mean, everything John says is awesome. I have not mowed yet this year, and his reasons are the exact reasons why, because we have lots of dandelions, especially in our back area where we kind of cultivate them. But we also have lots of like white Dutch clover, which I planted in the lawn too, which really supports the early bees. But even things like if you're starting to think of flowers and containers, and even your vegetable garden, I put lots of flowers in there. Things like bee-friendly plants like annual poppies and zinnias and lavender, even herbs like sage and thyme really attract and support the bees. So I'm planting a lot of plants and annual flowers, and I think of the bees when I make my picks.
I've got a question for you, Nikki. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg question. We're told that the bees help to pollinate the fruits and vegetables.
Yep.
So do you need to plant other things in order for the bees to be around to help us with the stuff we like?
Well, the bees, for example, because I put a lot of these plants, these flowers in my vegetable garden, I find it increases the yield I get without any more work, in that more of my cucumber flowers, more of my squash and pumpkin flowers will be pollinated because of the bees. So I get a larger yield without having to plant more plants. So I do try to include lots of these plants that they like up in the garden as well as in my containers.
So, John, how much honey do you harvest a year?
You usually get anywhere from 30 to 50 liters, depending on the hive and depending on how many hives you get. I try to leave as much honey for the bees without really sacrificing their winter stock, but it's always a pleasure in the fall when you start going through the hive and you see that golden honey come down and you realize this is the flavor of our community, and each community has a unique flavor.
30 to 50 liters. Wow. That's a lot.
That sounds just about right to me.
Awesome. Absolutely.
And, John, when I was in the valley, there was a place that said all their honey was made from, came from bees where they had pollinated pumpkin and squash, and it had a totally different flavor, and it was some of the best honey I've ever had before.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what you can do, and what I understand from trying to get these specific crops is they very aggressively have the bees set up so that they start laying right in the super. They put all the honey in the cone right in the super, and then as that flower blossoms, the bees go right towards them. So you can kind of isolate a crop, but you have to have such a volume of it. And you're right. It's amazing the different flavors. And if anyone has an opportunity, I always say when you go to the market, there's what's on the shelf, but you need to talk to the beekeeper and ask them what else do you have? What other flavors do you have? And usually they'll have a special container off to the side that's a little more expensive, but has a real rich flavor.
John, thanks for the heads up on this, and I know you post on your web blog, johnbignall.ca, and of course we'll point people there if they want to learn more about urban beekeeping and perhaps more about how they could perhaps join in your fun.
Great. Thank you very much, Sheldon.
All right, John.
Pleasure.
All the best. Bye-bye. Nikki, just before we let you go, you're in this weekend again.
I am, yeah. Sundays from 10 to noon. We've got a lot of cool stuff happening this weekend. It's time, Sheldon, to think about your container gardens. And, it's time. We're there. And I was at a couple nurseries yesterday accidentally buying more plants. And Crystal Godfrey, who is the queen of all things container gardening, she's coming in this weekend, and she's going to join me to talk about that. But you know who we also have? I know you love this guy, Mark Cullen.
Oh, okay.
Mark Cullen, Canada's garden guru.
Yeah.
He's got a fabulous new book, so he's going to join me too.
I love your tomato guy.
I love my tomato guy too. Isn't he amazing, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to have him on again soon, but yeah, he's awesome. Awesome.
Right. Nikki, everybody keeps looking at this drooping plant that's in the studio. I keep saying, I was hoping Nikki will perform CPR, but you're more of an outdoor gardener.
I am. I don't give houseplants a lot of love, but you know what? One of the publishers just sent me a book called What's Wrong with My Houseplant. Maybe I will leave it on the desk for you, Sheldon.
Oh, there's a great idea.
That is a sad plant. Maybe I should bring a new one in.
I think it just needs to be put out of his misery.
It really should.
Okay, so Sunday, 10 to noon, right here on News 95.7.
Thanks, Sheldon.
All right, Nikki. All the best. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye. We're going to take a break and find out if our building's on fire, which I don't think it is, but fire trucks are here and the alarm's going off. And we'll continue our show coming up in a couple of moments. We've got a news update.